My father is a clerk in a very small school. I was a kind of a student, or I was a kind of a son wherein I never used to have any goals in my life, and we were rusticated on that very day. My father was crying in front of me, gave me again 500 rupees note, and he said, "It's all I have for you." And I was like, yes, this is something which is I should start for on myself. After 2 years we lost everything, क्योंकि अब अगर हार मानी तो फिर से लोग यही बात करेंगे कि he is a loser. लास्ट ईयर हम लोगों ने जो करीब 10 करोड़ का टर्नओवर क्लोज किया है. Thank you all for giving me this opportunity. My name is Narendra Joshi, and I'm going to connect few dots of my life here. So the dots are 20 years of age, 500 rupees in hand, with a rustication certificate of BITS Pilani, and to the CEO of $1 million company in Gurgaon. So these are some dots which we are going to connect today of my life in this talk. I was born and brought up in a small town of Rajasthan known as Pilani. Pilani is known for its educational institutions. So and I was born in a very economically mediocre family in Rajasthan. My father is a clerk in a very small school, and my mother is a housewife. So my father, in fact, both my parents were very much inclined towards my education, and of course the education of my other two siblings as well. And thankfully and fortunately, he was working in an education trust where we were exempted from paying the school fees. So we got an opportunity to study in a very good institute, in a very good school as well. However, if this facility was not available, my father would not have been able to make me or make my brother and sister study in those schools because of the fees. My father was earning a very small amount of 1,000 rupees at that time, and I'm talking about 90s. So it was just 1,000 rupees a month. He cannot afford at that time to pay a fees, then to run the daily expenses of the household, everything. So we got this opportunity, and I remember that very first day of my school when I was asked to go for an admission test. And I flunked that test. Frankly speaking, I flunked that test, and I went to my father that I am so sorry. I promised him on that day that I will never flunk an exam ever in my life. Please get me admission to this school, please. So he said, okay, he will try, and he spoke to some of the seniors of that trust, and by some way he got me admitted to that school in first standard. I was very happy on that day. However, before making that promise, I wasn't aware that the destiny has some other plans as well for that kind of a promise. But somehow I started that journey of my school. However, let me be very honest to you all, I was not at all a very brilliant student, or for that matter, a brilliant student as well. I always considered myself a very average kind of a student in studies. However, my father wanted me to do something good because he was very much sure about this fact that education can make or can bring fortunes to any family. Because he himself was not so educated, and they always put their needs on a lesser importance and our education on a higher importance. Always, they always sacrificed most of their dreams because of our education, because they need to buy books for us, they need to buy the daily school stuff for us, and they never used to buy anything for them. Right? Over a period of time, I was a kind of a student, or I was a kind of a son wherein I never used to have any goals in my life. I just used to think, I just need to go to the next standard. I just need to go to the next class. And if I have to get 50%, I used to get 50%. That's all. I never used to have any goals of life. I was just living my life as per my instructions of my father. Like, he wanted me to go to next class, I just going to. He always insisted. I remember those days when my father used to sit with me Till the time I was studying at my study table, he used to sit with me to ensure that I am studying. And even then, I used to read comics in those books, right? I am a very ordinary kind of a person. And I believe most of us have been doing this, right? No goals, doing all the notorious stuff, not studying at all, everything like that. And as the time passed, the cost of education was increasing for my father because my siblings, my younger siblings, both my sister and my brother, were also introduced to schools now, right? So the daily expense was increasing. So my mother took this as a challenge. She started selling milks. She started selling milk. I scored an average percentage of 75% in 12th. And before that, I would also like to mention here that we got a very good opportunity as a staff student of entering into BITS Pilani, the most prestigious college, engineering college of those times, most prestigious. It was ranked, I believe, number 2 or number 3 at that time in India, more than most of the IITs in the country. We were getting, I got a direct admission into that. So my thought process was very clear, or my father's thought process, I must say, was very clear, that he has to study till 12th and then get admission into engineering in BITS Pilani. Very simple, right? I could not even think beyond that I could be a doctor or I could be anything else, a marine engineer or something of that sort. Very clear. I'll go to the BITS Pilani, do my engineering, get a 30,000 rupees job, life sorted, and out of those 30,000 rupees, I'll bring fortunes. And I was tuned like that only. I took up that challenge, entered BITS, just entered with the marks that was required to enter college. I entered there, but I was never hardworking kind of a guy. Unlike my father, he was very hardworking. He is still very hardworking, right? I wasn't at that time. I just entered and I thought I have reached my goal and that's done. I am sorted. In the very first month of first year, I thought I'll get a job of 40,000 rupees, and I stopped studying at all, right? I wasn't at all a good student. I wasn't at all attending the classes. I used to sit inside the canteen all the time. Third year, there was an exam, and I did a mistake of sending one of my friends, my childhood friends, on my behalf to attend that exam. We were caught, obviously, and we were rusticated on that very day. And then on that day, I understood that I have lost something. On that very day, I was numb. I reached home. My father got this information, and it was like there is some kind of death in the family. There is literally a death in the family. The death of the dreams of my father, the death of the outputs he expected from me out of all his hard work was completely dead. Nobody was talking to nobody for days. Now, why this happened? I was rusticated, given 2.5, 3 years of mark sheets. The dean promised that it will be considered like a diploma. There was nowhere it is written a diploma or something, right? And I was left with that. So one dot is I had that rustication certificate in my hand. Black future, blank, nothing. I can't see anything out of that, right? My father was crying in front of me. My mother was crying, right? They had nothing to tell me, scold me, or say me. They were completely numb. Everybody in the family, I remember that night, nobody ate anything, and they were just sitting for whole night. Whole night. I was like, oh my goodness, what have I done? And I started realizing this heat now. The very second day I remember, my father went outside to his office. Every colleague of his, everybody, I belong to a very small town. I belong to a very, very close-knitted community in a town. Rajasthan towns, or for that matter, every town in a country are community-driven, or society-driven towns. Everybody will ask you, क्या कर दिया यार बच्चे ने, आपने समझाया नहीं, क्या कर दिया, क्या करेगा अब जिंदगी में, क्या, I mean, if your parents are not worried, they'll make you worried. They'll make you feel that there something has happened in your family's life, right? And my father had no answers. He again came. He saw my face. And he used to stare at me. I remember those eyes. He used to stare at me. He didn't say anything to me, but he was staring at me. And he scolded me with his eyes. I remember those eyes. I feel literally shivering right now, narrating this to you even. Right? I was like standing there, and it continued to happen for almost 15 days. After 15 days, he was like, he gave me a 500 rupees note, which was almost 1/4 of his salary at that time. 1/4 of his salary. He gave me again 500 rupees note, and he said that it's all I have for you right now. It's all. And his eyes were telling, or kind of challenging me, do whatever to bring this respect back. And I was like, I took that money, and I had no clues what to do with this money and where to go. I never have traveled outside that small town ever in my life till that date. Never. I came out, I took a bag, and I boarded a bus of Gurgaon. I reached here. One of my friends helped me in getting a place to stay here, and I reached at that place. None of these flyovers were there. There was nothing in Gurgaon at that time. I reached here in 2005 at 2:30 in the same timings, like August or sometime. Scorching heat. I was waiting for that person to receive me because I wasn't aware. I mean, I never saw those big trucks also. I was like completely in a state of shock. I called him up. He said, wait there until 6. I was there until 6 in the scorching heat for the whole day. He came, he picked me up. Then I went home, I had dinner, I slept. Then I started going for interviews, right? And I was left with some 437 rupees left with me, something like this, right? I used to take my breakfast with him. I used to take my dinner with him. I'm talking about the relative whom I was staying with, my friend's relative. And I used to miss my lunch because I will exhaust my money. I have a very, very small scope of money with me, right? After almost 16 to 17 interviews, I cracked my first interview, and that was for a call center. That was for an international call center. And I started working there. For almost work, and the salary which I was getting at that time was 6,000, 7,000 rupees. I started at that was. But I was still happy that yes, I'm getting something. I can now stay on my own, live on my own. I can have my lunch on a daily basis, right? Started working, then working there for almost 10 months. I went for another interview. I got another job, which was for a research analyst. I worked there for 4 years, right? During this period, I always used to remind myself that, am I going in the right direction? I have promised myself to bring that respect back, to bring everything, whatever I have lost during those days, back. Am I on the right track? I used to visualize things for myself. But over a period of some 4 or 5 years, I understood that this is not the way, at least, I will be going to get what I'm trying to get. What is my goal, right? And then and during that time, I also wish to share why I started this, what I'm doing now, is I bought a third-hand car. Actually, I thought car is something which brings respect in the society, at least in towns, right? Now it has become a commodity, but at that time it wasn't. That I am an owner of a car, so people will start feeling, or people will start respecting me, that yes, I have a car, right? So I'm doing something good to myself then. So I purchased a third-hand car because nobody knows whether it is a third-hand or a second-hand or a first-hand. So I bought a third-hand car. And again, God has some different plans for me. It was like, it was stolen, and it was, I parked somewhere and near my office. When I came back in the evening, there was no car. For this 4.5 years of my corporate service, I earned, or I saved almost 2 to 3 lakh rupees, and out of which I just lost 1.25 lakhs because of that car. And I was again kind of stuck with something. And but this at this point, I was kind of pushed to that level wherein I started thinking again about the goals of my life, about the promises that I have made to myself, and am I going in the right direction? That's the question I always ask myself. Am I going in the right direction? Is it going to take me to the goals what I have set for myself, right? So and that car was a big loss. I mean, that was very important for me. So I started thinking on those lines, like, how can we even stop that nobody can play around with my car, nobody can steal my car, right? And out of this research, I found out that there is a way wherein we can track our cars real time. And I was like, yes, this is something which is I should start for on myself, right? I called up my friends, and coincidentally, there were only 2 friends who said yes to me. One was the same person who was who on my behalf attended that exam. So he said yes, he wished to leave his job and come with me and become my partner. And secondly, one of my childhood friends. So we 3 started this along with one of my elder cousin sisters. So we are 4 partners now who started this organization. And we had 2-3 things. We had a few amount of bucks with us as our savings. We have huge and loads of energy and motivation with us that yes, we can do something rocking to ourselves within some time, right? We started this organization in 2010 November. After 2 years, we lost everything. We lost the money that we have saved. We lost in the sense we already invested in the company, right? We lost the energy. We were not motivated to that levels which were required to run that company. However, we got one thing. People back in hometown started talking about us. I'm not saying they started respecting me or my partners, but they started at least talking about us, that yes, this guy is doing something, right? And I always believed if they are talking about us, this means we are doing something, either wrong or good, doesn't matter, but we are doing something. And this point pushed us again that yes, we should keep on going like this. Right? We should not take our step back. क्योंकि अब अगर हार मानी तो फिर से लोग यही बात करेंगे कि he is a loser. This guy can't do anything. Right? So हम लोग ऐसी स्थिति में फंस गए थे वहाँ पे कि ना तो इधर जा सकते थे और उधर जाने के लिए बहुत मेहनत लग रही थी. इधर जाते तो रिस्पेक्ट जो थोड़ी बहुत भी कमाई थी वो वापस ख़राब हो जाती, और उधर जाने का मतलब ये हो गया था कि हमें पैसा चाहिए, चलाने को चाहिए. सो आई हैव सीन दोज डेज ड्यूरिंग दैट 5 years ऑफ माई स्ट्रगल पीरियड. आई हैव सीन दोज डेज जहाँ पे रात को खाना खाने के लिए भी पैसा नहीं बचता था, या घर का रेंट देने के लिए AC बेचा था मैंने, राइट? दीज आर द काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियोज वी हैव ऑलरेडी सीन, राइट? बट ठीक है, गाँव में तो लोग ठीक बात कर रहे हैं ना, यहाँ कौन आ रहा है देखने के लिए, राइट? सो हमेशा हम लोगों ने ये बात सुनी है कि सोसाइटी टेक्स यू बैक, कि गांव में लोग क्या कहेंगे या लोग क्या कहेंगे, तो वो आपको पीछे लेके जाता है. इन माई केस दिस पर्टिकुलर थिंग मुझे वहाँ लेके गई जहाँ मैं आज हूँ, या वहाँ लेके जाएगी जहाँ मैं पहुँचना चाहता हूँ. कि लोग क्या कहेंगे इस डर से मैं चला रहा हूँ इस चीज़ को, या चलाता रहा. ठीक है, सो दिस इज़ वन पॉइंट. सेकेंडली, हम लोगों ने फिर मतलब पूरी मेहनत वैसे ही करते रहे. 2015 तक हम लोग बिल्कुल इस हालात में थे कि हम एक कमरे के घर में रहते थे, 3 दोस्त, और खाने को जब मिल जाता था तब खा लेते थे. इन द सेंस कि 6-8 महीने में एक बार सैलरी आती थी 10-15 हज़ार रुपये. घर वालों ने फिर से बिल्कुल वो जो थोड़ी बहुत रिस्पेक्ट जो कमा ली थी पिछले 4-5 साल में, वो भी ख़त्म कर दी कि ये अपने आप को बिल्कुल बर्बाद करेगा लड़का और कुछ नहीं करना. एंड वी गॉट अ कॉल फ्रॉम वन जोन ऑफ साउथ दिल्ली म्यूनिसिपल कॉरपोरेशन कि बॉस आप आओ और एक प्रोजेक्ट है हमारे पास. हम तो बस बिल्कुल वो कहते हैं ना कि बिल्कुल हंग्री थे बिल्कुल बिजनेस के लिए, तो हम तो बिल्कुल भाग के पहुंच गए. तो उन्होंने बोला ये कर दो, कि हमने कहा हाँ कर देंगे. उन्होंने बोला 10 दिन में कर दो, कि हाँ कर देंगे. हमने 8 दिन में ही कर दिया और वो उनको जाके डिलीवर कर दिया, विच इज़ वन ऑफ इट्स काइंड प्रोजेक्ट इन द कंट्री, जहाँ पे हम लोग कूड़े को ट्रैक करते हैं, मॉनिटर करते हैं कि कूड़ा उठा कि नहीं उठा। हमें मिला, मौका मिला, हमने उस प्रोजेक्ट को किया और बहुत वाहवाहियाँ बटोरी, राइट। देन वी फाउंड आवर दैट नीश इन टू द बिजनेस, that we found that direction, right direction, that this is something which can take us to our goals, which can lead the direction at least towards our goals, right? So this project is all about, हिंदुस्तान में बहुत कूड़ा है, बहुत सारी कंपनीज लगी हुई हैं, बट फिर भी साफ़ नहीं हो रहा है बिकॉज मॉनिटर नहीं हो रहा है। तो हम यही काम करते हैं, पूरा एक IoT सोल्यूशन देते हैं जिसमें ये मॉनिटर। उसके बाद हम लोगों ने आगे बढ़े और हमें और भी प्रोजेक्ट्स मिले। आज हिंदुस्तान में हम लोग करीब करीब 7 से 8 प्रोजेक्ट्स कर रहे हैं, जो कि अपने आप में रिकॉर्ड है। सबसे ज़्यादा प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं हमारे पास। लास्ट ईयर हम लोगों ने जो करीब करीब 10 करोड़ का टर्नओवर क्लोज़ किया है। सो थैंक यू। एंड नाउ द थिंग इज़, ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ दीज लास्ट 4 years वी आर ग्रोइंग एट अ पेस ऑफ 150+% ग्रोथ इन आवर ऑर्गेनाइजेशन। नाउ इन होल ऑफ दिस स्टोरी ऑफ माई लाइफ, वॉट एवर आई हैव जस्ट नैरेटेड, there are 2-3 things which I wish to everyone should think about it or incorporate in their lives. My story revolves around one word, that is will, or we can call it zid. Initially it was the will of my father or my mother to make us study, right? And in the later stage of my life, that was all about the will of myself and my partners to bring that respect back, to do something good to ourselves and to our families. So this is all about will. I wish to let you know that when we started the business, we thought that ab to kal se ameer ho jayenge, right? But it is not like that, right? It took us 5 years, but the only thing we had during this whole of tenure is will to do it. If you have the will to do it, you will reach anywhere. I am not even a graduate till date, but still I'm running. I am the CEO of a $1 million company right now and will be doubling my business every year. We are doing it for the last 4 years, and I'm sure we will be doing it for the next 4-5 years as well, right? So my only thing is, if there is a will, there is a way. There is a way, yes, and this is the way. That's what I have been doing since last almost 10 years now, and it is all my friends have started calling me a social entrepreneur. So I believe, yes, now I must be doing something which is going to impact the society socially, and this is what I am into right now. Thank you.
उन्होंने मेरा CV लिया और मेरे हाथ पे ही रख दिया। बोला तुम यूपी वाले आ क्यों जाते हो जब तुम्हें बोलना ही नहीं आता। मेरा नाम लक्ष्मी वर्मा है। मैं बेसिकली फिरोजाबाद यूपी से हूँ। फर्स्ट टाइम जब दिल्ली आई तो मेरा पहला इंटरव्यू था, तो उनका फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन ये था कि इंट्रोड्यूस योरसेल्फ। तो इंट्रोड्यूशन में क्या बोलते हैं मुझे ये नहीं पता था, तो मैं चुप हो गई। तो उन्होंने मेरा CV लिया और मेरे हाथ पे ही रख दिया। बोला तुम यूपी वाले आ क्यों जाते हो जब तुम्हें बोलना ही नहीं आता। मुझे ऐसा लगा कि किसी ने मेरे मुंह पे तमाचा दिया हो, और मैं कुछ समझ में नहीं आ रहा था, उससे कुछ बोल भी नहीं सकती थी। तो फिर मैंने CV लिया और लौट के चली आई। फिर उसके बाद तो फिर मैंने इंटरव्यू ही नहीं दिए। इंग्लिश लगता तो था ज़रूरी है, कोशिश भी की, सीखूंगी, ट्राई भी किया। 1-2 बार किसी इंस्टीट्यूट में ज्वाइन किया। तो फिर प्रॉब्लम क्या होती थी, इंस्टीट्यूट में जाना होता है, फिर इतना टाइम नहीं होता था कि पढ़ना भी होता था और जॉब्स भी करनी होती थी। सब कह देते हैं इंग्लिश सीखने के लिए एनवायरनमेंट चाहिए, माहौल चाहिए होता है, लोगों से बात करोगे तभी आएगी। अब बात करने के लिए भी तो वो लोग होने चाहिए जो आपसे बात करना चाहें। मैं जो स्टॉक्स की वीडियोस देखती थी मोटिवेशन के लिए, तो लास्ट में एक एडवर्टाइजमेंट था, तो वहाँ पे बोला था कि हमारे एक ऐप है जो स्किल का, तो आप उसे डाउनलोड करिए। तो मैंने सब्सक्रिप्शन कर लिया, और लेकिन सब्सक्रिप्शन की अमाउंट भी इतनी नॉमिनल थी कि मैंने तो सोचा भी नहीं था इतने कम दाम में इतना अच्छा प्रोडक्ट मिल सकता है। सबसे अच्छा जो बेस्ट पार्ट मुझे लगा वो था प्रैक्टिस का, जो मुझे चाहिए था एक्चुअल में, जो मैं ढूंढ रही थी इतने टाइम से। तो अब ऐसा है कि मैं इतना एबल हूँ कि हाँ ठीक है, मैं बात कर सकती हूँ, इंटरव्यूज फेस कर सकती हूँ. नाउ आई एम नॉट स्केयर्ड ऑफ स्पीकिंग इंग्लिश. थैंक यू जोश.